Good morning, respected dignitaries, Principal of Voltage Technology, Dr. Jayant Kikur sir. Today's speaker is Puneet Kumar Mishra, who is from ISRO Bangalore, head of the department,
approval
and dear participants. The blessings of Almighty, I welcome you all to one big faculty development program sponsored by AICTE Training and Learning Academy. The emerging area, green technology and sustainable engineering. But the subtitle of the activity is technology awareness on industrial application of microwave engineering. I request our head of the department, Dr. Santosh Saraf sir, to welcome all.
Yeah, good morning. It is my proud privilege to welcome Dr. Puneet Mishra, head ISRO Satellite Characterization, Bangalore. He is the keynote speaker today for FDP, which is going to have increase the technology awareness on industrial application of microengineering. I welcome you, sir. I welcome Dr. Jayant Kikur, Principal of Voltage Technology. He is the President of the function today. I welcome all the participants, and as sir said, emerging area, green technology and sustainability engineering. It goes in line with the objectives and vision of Atal Academy, where they want to equip student faculty and go higher in the knowledge acquisition process. This FDP, where technology awareness and on industrial applications in engineering, microwave engineering, is going to cover topics starting from basics of microwave and RF design to say using software tools and the radar channel modeling. The hot area of microwave engineering in 5G is being addressed, and the other part of microwave is always the materials which are used. So graphene-based antennas are going to be covered in this FDP. And Atal being a vision where equity is going to be practiced. We also have a section of women in engineering in RF and microwave domain. So we have a researcher who will be addressing you on RF and microwave design. So industrial application of microwave, most of us are aware of it in food processing because it is a common device used in our households. But it also addresses work-life balance. So this topic also is being part of the FDP, where it is in line with the vision of Atal Academy and Atal FDP. So I once again welcome all of you to this function, and I hope once in this week we get more enlightened minds with microwave engineering as an application. I welcome all of you once again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It is our proud privilege that Mr. Puneet Kumar Mishra agreed to be keynote speaker for the inaugural event of this Atal-sponsored FDP. It is my privilege to introduce Mr. Puneet Kumar Mishra. Mr. Puneet Kumar earned his MTech in RF and microwave from IIT Roorkee in the year 2004. Since 2004, he has been with ISRO Satellite Center and presently heading Satellite Antenna Characterization, Test and Design Section, Bangalore. He has a rich experience of RF characterization of 31 satellites operating from UHF to Ka band. He has played a pivotal role in establishing S/C level EMC chamber and has developed a payload to study the RF blackout phenomenon. He has also contributed in indigenously developing bus bar for high power S/C. He has published more than 35 papers and won 3 Best Paper awards. He is a senior member of IEEE USA and life member of Astronautical Society of India, Society of EMC Engineers India, and Antenna Test and Measurement Society India. He is on the board of reviewers of journals like IEEE Transactions on Antenna and Propagation, IEEE Antennas and Wireless Propagation Letters, and IET Microwaves, Antennas and Propagation. He is an active volunteer of IEEE, and his journey, right from volunteering IEEE Bangalore section till the chair of IEEE Bangalore section during year 2019 and 20, is phenomenal. He started in 2013 as Joint Secretary of IEEE Bangalore section, then Secretary in 2014 and 15. He was convener of IEEE Smart Tech Workshop during 2014-15. Then in 2016, Treasurer of IEEE Bangalore section, Treasurer for IEEE Region 10.
Dr. Datta Torse, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Please my activity likes for my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. There are many awards with Mishra sir have won. I'll just mention few of them. Actually, I have a very big profile of Puneet sir. To mention very prestigious award from ISRO Young Scientist Award in 2012, ASI ISRO Space Gold Medal in 2013. With this, I present before you Mr. Puneet Kumar Mishra sir. He will be presenting his talk on antennas. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Datta Torse, for your very, very generous and kind introduction. Before starting my presentation, I would like to thank organizers Dr. Santosh S. Saraf, HOD Electronics and Communication Engineering, and Dr. Jayant Kintur, Principal KLS GIT. I would also like to congratulate KLS GIT for receiving the Best Small Student Branch Award yesterday in our annual general body meeting of the IEEE Bangalore section. So heartiest congratulations to you. I could see Principal Sahab is also sitting. So on behalf of IEEE Bangalore section, I would like to convey my regards, and we are very honored and privileged to have a very, very vibrant student branch at KLS GIT. And credit goes to the entire team under your able leadership, as well as our branch counselor Ravi Hosmani, who has been contributing a lot. With this, I request Dr. Torse to share my screen for the presentation. So
yes, I have shared.
Start the. Oh, you have shared? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So 1 second, I will just open my presentation here because I am not able to see yours. So at least I will open here and then. Sorry, I am joining through my mobile because I am in office, so I could not join you via my laptop, which I used to if I'm joining from my office. And I'm having bandwidth issues, so I will switch off my camera as well so that there is no network related issues. Yeah. So you can go to the next slide, content.
Yes, sir.
So friends, I will be discussing in this presentation because I belong to a space community and we deal with the space antenna system. I thought that it will be a good value addition to this faculty development program organized under ATAL we will talk about antennas. And yes, I can see Professor Raghavan and Mr. Mr. Gaul also participating. So thank you very much for joining this presentation. Thank you, Professor Raghavan. Thank you, Gaul, for being here. So my presentation will include basics of antenna, issues of space-borne antenna systems, trends and thrust areas in space antenna technologies. I will be slightly touching upon shaped and contour beam antennas, which we use in the space domain, as well as dual graded antennas. I will discuss about very briefly about multi-beam antennas, and then I will be concluding my presentation with a small introduction about antenna measurement facilities. So can you go to the next slide? Antenna parameters. Most of you, those who are from antenna or RF microwave community, they know these parameters. This is just a brush up. So any antenna, when it radiates, there will be a radiation pattern. And on radiation pattern, the angle between the points from beam peak to the point where power is going to be reduced by half, angle between those 2 points is known as half power beam width. Directivity, gain, antenna efficiency, they are interrelated, and gain is directivity into antenna efficiency, and effective isotropic radiated power, which this is the term where in academia not much importance is given, but for most practical applications, especially in the case of space domain, or for that matter any even your mobile communication also, this is the terminology which we have to have, which is called effective isotropic radiated power. In very simple term, it is the how much power is input to the antenna and what is the gain of the antenna. If you multiply, or in dB terms if you add it, then whatever is the number coming up, that will be the effective isotropic radiated power. Just to inform you, typically for C-band antenna case in ISRO's designed satellite, it will be 43, and for Ku band it will be close to 52 dB EIRP, and for the case of Ka band it goes to as high as 66, and when you are using multiple beam antennas, so in that numbers comes like that. Can you go to the next slide, please? I wanted to impress upon polarization of a wave. If you see, IEEE definition says the trace of the tip of the E field vector as function of time seen from behind. In a very simplistic term, if I will try to explain you, it is the instantaneous vector of the field which is parallel to the earth. If you say that it will be on earth, it will be called as a horizontal polarization, and if the launched wave instantaneous vector of the E field is vertical to the earth, it will be called vertical polarization. Why I am talking about this? Because this is the very important parameter as far as the space domain is concerned, and this definition changes when the satellite is in the geostationary orbit. In the geostationary orbit, polarization definition reference changes from earth to the equator. If instantaneous vector of the E field is parallel to the equator, it becomes horizontal polarization, and if it becomes vertical to the equator, it becomes the. And again, in space domain, why it is important? Because you know there is a scarcity of spectrum. So by using polarization diversity, international telecommunication doubles the spectrum by allotting same frequencies to 2 different users in 2 different polarizations. 1 second, please. Hello? I will not be coming. Can you come here and give me? Yeah. So in space domain, it is being doubled by using polarization diversity. And I was talking about ITU gives the same frequency. Suppose we want to operate in Ku band. So ITU allots same Ku band 1114 gigahertz to India, as well as it may allot same 11.14 suppose gigahertz to other country. Now, because India is being allotted suppose horizontal polarization at 11 gigahertz, and nearby some other countries allotted 11 gigahertz in vertical polarization, what happens? My cross polarization, which will be V polarization, will be the co-polarization of the nearby countries. So we have to see that we are not interfering even in the cross-pole terms to the nearby countries. So this I will be discussing in coming slides. So can you go to the next slide, please? Space antenna system, if you see frequency spectrum, so we mostly work from the entire frequency spectrum, starting from EMI EMC point of view. We have to consider from 1 megahertz onwards, and we will be going till 50 gigahertz if we are operating in Q and V band. And ISRO is also working in W band and beyond. So that is beyond the scope of this presentation. So I will not be discussing those things. But yes, so this is the spectrum we are working, and most importantly, the most used spectrum will be for navigation purpose L and S band, for communication purpose it is C band and KU band and Ka band now, and for data transmission purpose it is the X band. Can you go to the next slide, please? This is a very important slide where I will be discussing that what are the challenges, or in my terms, opportunities available for antenna engineers in the space domain. So challenges are like this. We have to consider that whatever antenna we are designing, it should have adequate bandwidth. It means when ITU is allotting me some frequency spectrum, it will allot me a frequency range like 11 to 11.25 gigahertz. And when it is being allotted, we have to see that the design antenna is functional in 11 to 11.25 gigahertz. It is immune from all fabrication tolerances, because you know antenna design is very dependent on the mechanical fabrication related things. So our design, what we are simulating in the simulation software, we have to do a sensitivity analysis. What is called sensitivity analysis? You can simulate any parameters. Suppose your parameter numbers are coming like XYZ 0.0007. Then only your design is giving best performance. So this 0.007 or even 0.007, mechanically it is not possible to realize. Mechanically what may be possible? Maximum up to XYZ 0.15 or 0.25 kind of number it is possible. So we have to see that whatever optimization we are doing, we have a good antenna engineer or a microwave engineer should have that understanding that what is possible mechanically, that much level only we should do the optimization. And then when we are doing optimization, even after that, there will be mechanical tolerances when fabrication is happening. So within those mechanical tolerances, your optimized design parameters are not going to change drastically, or there should be minimum change anticipated when your antenna is realized within the mechanical fabrication tolerances. So this is a very important challenge. Then low cross polarization level, already I told, cross polarization of my antenna will be the co-polarization of a nearby country or any other country antenna. So if my cross polarization is not poor, if not good, I will tell, and it is poor, so I will be pumping energy to the unintentionally, we will be pumping the energy to the nearby country, and we will be creating interference for them, which is not allowed as per ITU. So ITU gives a guideline even for cross polarization for the antenna. So you see how our hands are tied. We have to have very good performance as well as. So mostly when you are designing your antennas for the ground application, you will be focusing only on the co-polarization. Whereas when you are designing for a space and not only co, you have to see that your cross pole levels are also very minimal. And low fabrication cost, anyway, it is always required, and is being in the space business, it is all the more required, because if you see ground versus a space application cost, sometimes variation is as high as 50 times. So we have to keep low fabrication cost, lightweight, because in space business, again, depending upon the launch vehicle, maximum how much satellite load will be there is defined. When satellite load is defined, load or weight for each and every single subsystem is being defined. So even for antennas also, it is allotted that your antenna, overall antenna weight should not be more than 30 kg. for the 2-ton satellite. So you can see how meager amount is being allotted to you, and you have to realize your antenna within that time, that weight. Low volume, again, depending upon the what you can say, the maximum volume possible for any satellite to be accommodated in any given launch vehicle. When satellite volume is allotted, your antenna volume is also being allotted, that you cannot go beyond that size. What is the maximum volume of the satellite? So that is another constraint for us. So you have to provide the maximum gain in the specified volume or lesser than that volume. Then in the case of beam to beam isolation, in the case of multiple beam antenna, there is a beam to beam isolation requirement also, which should be typically 16 dB minimum. Then when you are sending a satellite, you want to operate in maximum band, so that with one satellite you can do multiple things. So mostly multi-band, multi-polarization, multi-beam requirements will be there. And for some strategic application, even agility of the beam is also required, so that even though your satellite is at any point, at any location, still you are able to monitor or capture the information at some point on the land. Next slide, please. I will be briefly discussing about the trends in space antenna system and where ISRO is standing here. So we started our design with conventional Gaussian beam, where footprints used to be circular. Then we graduated to the shaped beam. From shaped beam, again, there was a requirement of this high cross polarization level. So we moved to the dual graded antenna system, which automatically provides a very good cross polarization level. Then now we are working on multiple beam antennas, because when we want to have 5G kind of a transmission, we need multiple beam antenna system, because already I explained we cannot increase the size of the antenna. So with a given size of antenna, how we can have further improved gain in turn EIRP, in turn data rates. So with same size of antenna, rather than covering that same size of antenna entire India, we can have multiple feeds, and with same size of reflector, we can create several spot beams on the India, and we can have higher gain. So we are using now India, we are able to map with as high as 40 beams. In that case, which typically gain used to be 33 dB or 30 dB, we are able to achieve 46 to 47 dB kind of gain. Then there is a dual reflector technology and reconfigurable shape beam. So we are working on those technology, and in future we are going to have very soon this kind of any reconfigurable antennas as well as reconfigurable payload. Entire reconfiguration is possible. Then we are also working on the array technologies, phased array technologies, as well as now we are working on the active array technologies. And then scanning of the beam is already I told we are working. Now coming to important electrical and physical considerations, what we are seeing as far as antenna design is concerned. So we have to see frequency of, next slide please, frequency of operation, radiation coverage requirement, gain, bandwidth and polarization we have to see. Then when we are talking about bandwidth, it is not only with respect to the return loss, we have to see bandwidth with respect to gain as well as polarization also. Then in space, because we will be dealing with, we have our signal has to traverse as high as 36,000 kilometers for the geostationary orbit, and when we are now doing these space missions, so we have to travel millions of kilometers. So when that kind of situation is there, we have to deal with high power as well as extremely low power. So power handling is another phenomena we have to consider. Multi-packing RF breakdown. This is because of when we are in space, specifically these, and when we are launching the satellite, what happens because of differential or vacuum, differential pressure during the launch time and vacuum, hard vacuum in the space, we have to have these we have to circumvent these problems. And when designing, all these considerations has to be taken care. Another important aspect is mounting and clearance. When we are mounting our antenna on the satellite, so antenna alone is not going to be mounted on the satellite. Along with antenna, several other sensors as well as subsystems will be mounted. So we have to see that my positioning of the antenna is such that it is not coming in the field of view of other sensors, or similarly other sensors are not coming in the field view of our antenna. So that is the another constraint we have to circumvent. Another thing is material. We cannot use any material of our requirement, because in space there will be a phenomenon called degaussing, and degradation will be happening due to ultraviolet radiation. So we have to choose space qualified materials, and we have to see that their degaussing and UV, DML, those numbers are very, very benign. Another aspect is body effect. You can design your antenna which is working alone in a fantastic way. And most of the ground application, we never bother about the platform where we are mounting the antenna. We really worry about the antenna alone performance, which is not the true case with respect to the space business, because when we are mounting the antenna on the satellite, we have to see that because of the huge platform of the spacecraft body is not creating any impact on the performance of the antenna, specifically in the form of degradation in the radiation pattern. We have seen that this impact of the spacecraft body is benign for high gain antennas which are having gain 33 dB and beyond, whereas it has a very, very extreme kind of effect on the low gain TTC kind of antennas, and it is having moderate impact when we are dealing with medium gain antennas. So when you are designing, so this becomes another parameter to design your antenna accordingly. Then again, temperature limits and vibrations are again important parameters in the space. So when your antenna is in the space, the side of the sun which is cold sky temperature as minus 100 degrees centigrade. So you can see, suppose your antenna is 60 mm or maximum 100 mm. So within that 100 mm, one side of the antenna, one side of your antenna is at plus 100 degrees centigrade, other is minus 100 degrees centigrade. So that's why whatever material you are choosing should be able to withstand this kind of extreme temperature gradients. Vibrations consideration is required during launch. When you are launching the satellite, entire satellite sees huge amount of vibration, as high as 32 G kind of vibrations. So your antenna design should be so rigid that even after those kind of vibration, there is no crack is happening, there is no screws are falling down, there is no impact on the overall design of antenna. Next slide, please. Space antenna environmental issues. I will be discussing very briefly on this. Actually, when satellite is there in the space, it is literally immersed in the plasma. There will be electrons, and depending upon their energy as well as some of the electrons will be either residing on the antenna surface, or they will be puncturing through the satellite, and they will be residing inside kind of, suppose you are using some composite material, so there they will be residing, and then there will be continuous buildup of charge happening because of this continuous bombardment from this positive. So at point of what happens when charge buildup is so high, that is the dielectric breakdown of the dielectric whatever you have used, then there will be a ESD kind of phenomenon. Discharge will happen. So this discharge means material properties you have used. So when you are using, so that's why usually we will not use dielectrics for the antenna design, mostly we will try to have a kind of a metallic or a conductive design here. So this is another constraint we could give, or if we using a component, you should have a grounding scheme such that you are not allowing any charge depletion on that, and you are providing the weak resistance which are coming and residing on the satellite antenna surfaces. So means you are literally providing a decay or discharge to those charges, and you are not allowing any buildup of charge on the antenna surface. So these are the things you have to take care as a antenna designer. Next slide, please. This already I have explained. Please go to the next slide, which talks about shaped antenna system. So typically coverage, you can see to have Indian mainland coverage. You can see top left. We can generate radiation pattern like this. If you want to have Indian mainland and as well as island coverage, top right will be the configuration. And if you are having a global mainland coverage requirement, then your antenna design should be such that the footprint of antenna should be the below left side in the second slide. If you see, that is the global mainland coverage requirement, and if you want only Asia coverage or Asian coverage, then right hand side will be the requirement for this. And this all these kind of footprints can be generated by properly shaping the surface of the antenna. So they will be called as a shaped beam antennas. Next slide, please. So shaping of the antennas can be done in three different ways. First and foremost is you can use feed network along with reflector, and you can generate a shaped beam. Second is directly using only feed network with proper amplitude as well as phase variation. You can generate the shaped beam, and shaped beam or footprints can be generated as per your requirement. Third one is you can have, rather than feed network, only one feed, but you can shape the reflector, and by shaping the reflector you can generate the footprints as per your requirement. So out of all the three techniques, third one is the simplest techniques, and in space business definitely we will be definitely, what you can say, in space we usually use the technologies where chances of failure is less, or where very less number of electronics components are being used. So you can see when you are using feed network and phase variation and amplitude variations, they have to be huge amount of electronic circuitry will be required. Whereas the third option, where you only one simple reflector, and if you can shape, so with respect to complexity wise, with respect to weight wise, the third one is the better option. So that's why we will go for that. And how you are generating this shaping, you can see typical Gaussian beam is shown in a red color, and there will be a peak. So actually when you are shaping the reflector, you are reducing the peak gain of the antenna, but you are increasing the edge of coverage gain. You can see below pattern shows that circular beam is covering only, suppose, nearby the region of Nagpur, whereas same circular beam, when it is coming from the shaped reflector, that coverage is increased to entire India, and edge of coverage gain is also increased there. So peak gain, you can see, which is supposed to be kind of 46 dB, reduces to that the edge of coverage to 33 dB or 34 dB, but peak gain is reduced to entire India only now 34, but edge of coverage gain, which used to be 20 dB, is increased to 34 dB. So this kind of advantage you are getting in the shaping of reflector. Can you go to the next slide, please? Multiple beam antennas. Multiple beam antenna basic concept is very, very simple. You know that if you can shift your feed on the focal plane, you can literally shift the pattern also. So same concept is being utilized. You know, at the focus of your reflector, if you are putting, you can generate one beam in the same focal plane. If you translate, you do X translation or Y translation. Depending upon that, your beam will be shifting in the azimuth and elevation direction. So we are shifting the feeds and populating those locations as our requirement. Additional feeds we are adding, and that same translation when we are doing, it is reflecting on the ground also. You can see that center beam, which is in black in nature, when it is shifted in the left hand side, it becomes a blue beam, and when it is in right hand side, it becomes a red beam. Only thing we have to check when we are using multiple beam, this is called beam to beam isolation, and typically we should keep ITU, as per ITU guidelines, 16 dB, then you can do a meaningful operations. And another constraint is there, that we have to see that because of this complexity of the feed cluster comes into picture, which I will be discussing. Then there need a application there, because satellite platform stability comes 0.2 degree, 0.2 degree, 0.4 degrees. Whereas when you are using a multiple beam antenna, beam width comes closer to 0.6 degree, 0.8 degree. So out of this 0.6 degree to 0.8 degree, if you are having an offset of 0.2 degrees, definitely your 1/3 portion is you are out. So that is not possible. So we have to introduce onboard mechanisms. Even though satellite platform stability is 0.2 degrees, by using onboard tracking, we are correcting the antenna such that if that 0.2 degree offset is reduced to 0.05 kind of thing. So there is again requirement of tracking, communication from tracking field that do the job communication as well as tracking both for the case of this multiple beam antennas. Next slide, please. You can see when same India is covered with 5 beams, your feed cluster is having 5 feeds. Now for these 5 feeds, there will be 10 ports, because 5 will be used for transmit and 5 will be used for receive. And because of this, there will be huge amount of waveguide routing, plumbings will be required to be done. So you can see this increases the complexity at the satellite, but yes, to achieve 5G kind of application. Now you can imagine when 5, this is the scenario, when now we are building satellite with 40 beams, what kind of scenario will be happening. So literally it is a very, very complicated scenario, and any mistake in one of the beams will be catastrophic, because you cannot use that particular beam. Next slide, please. I will be quickly, because the time allotted is to me is half an hour. I will be quickly going through these slides now. So there will be various measurement facilities are available. Initially, we used to use open area test range, where either we can use 2 hilltop or 2 high-rise buildings. One portion we can put transmit antenna, another portion we can put the receive antenna or the test antenna, and we were doing the measurements. Then we graduated to anechoic chamber, because now you can see there are multiple radars are being used, multiple base transmission, mobile towers are there. So clean environment is not available. There will be unnecessary interference will be coming, and you will be thinking your antenna performance is not good. So from open area test range, people graduated to the anechoic chamber, where they created in a room with using RF absorbers. Anechoic room chambers were created, and then you are doing the radiation pattern measurement there. But they are having their own limitations, because if you want to do measurement, ideally you should be in the far field, and far field depends upon 2D square by lambda, where is the maximum diameter of the aperture of the antenna, and lambda is the wavelength at which antenna is designed. So depending upon your antenna size and frequency, these distances were changing. Then there came another concept of near field measurement. So I will not be discussing those things, because there are 3 types: planar, cylindrical, and spherical. Because of their obvious requirement, they can be used either for the directional antennas, especially planar. Cylindrical near field can be used for fan beam kind of antennas, and spherical near field is mostly used for low gain as well as wide or omnidirectional kind of antennas. So you can see one solution is not good for all kind of applications, but yes, depending upon what maximum usage is there, you can have one, or some people have all the 3. Then far field requirement, already I have explained you. Now let us go to the next slide, where I am talking about CATF. So CATF is mainly in the international domain is called as a compact range, and we are also having one such facility in our URO satellite center where we have already tested now 45 satellites, more than 280 antennas. Here, whatever I have discussed parameters with respect to antenna as well as payload, we all tested like polarization verification, pattern, beam shift, spacecraft body, EIRP, SFD, by T, PIM auto compatibility tracking. So all those parameters we test here. Next slide, please. Already I told this next slide that why it is a requirement of testing antenna tools. Because we have known that your antenna performance alone will be very good, but when you are mounting on the satellite, we have seen some degradation. So we'll be testing the same twice, one at subsystem level, one at the integrated spacecraft level. And the overall objective of the CATF, this I want to explain because when you are mounting the antenna on the satellite and satellite is at the equator, at the geostationary orbit, satellite is looking towards equator. So your antenna also will be looking towards equator. But if you see globe from equator, India is 22 degrees north. It means if your antenna is also looking towards equator, you cannot communicate with the Indian people. To communicate with the Indian people, you have to tilt your antenna towards India. So we have seen that this 22 degrees north tilt is required. This we are providing mechanically. We have provided it mechanically. We have to verify it from RF sense also that the beam is literally going and residing on India. So this is another requirement why we antenna mounted on the satellite testing. Then satellite body already I explained, and third is before coming to the satellite in CATF, it will be going to all kind of environmental tests, which I spoke, which is a thermovacuum, vibration, and acoustic, because we are simulating all the conditions of space. There is a vacuum, grading or vibration during launch, or a huge acoustic load happening during the launch. So all these things are simulated on ground so that when we are going for the launch as well as the operation, we are not seeing any surprises. So after this, again satellite will come to the CATF, and we have to see that because of these environmental tests, there is no degradation of the antenna as well as payload because of this. So this is the third requirement. Next slide, please. You can see we were in the past with circular beam, then we graduated to the shaped beam, and future is like this. So you see that the size of the antenna beam is reducing. Now to test this kind of antenna, we should really create quality plane wave. We should localization level. We should have a highly accurate positioning system so that we are able to measure at 0.4 degree beam width is 0.4 degree only, and we are really dealing with very small values of power. So that's why highly sensitive receiver is also required. Next slide, please. And when we are talking about that facility, should be having able to create space conditions. In space, there is a microgravity. We have to create rear far field and footprint mapping on the map. So these things are created with the help of, next slide please, facility, which is a compact range. You can see the photograph here. With the help of these two reflector, sub-reflector, main reflector concept is again physics. At the focus of a lens, if you put a light source, it tries to make the rays parallel. So same concept is being utilized here. Here two lenses are used, I can tell you. The sub-reflector is acting as a hyperbola. Is a hyperbola, and hyperbola has two focuses. At the one focus, we are putting the RF source, and the second focus of this hyperbola is coinciding with the focus of this parabola, which is called main reflector. So when from sub-reflector to main reflector feels that energy is coming from its own focus. So with the help of this double collimation, we are getting a plane wave, not in the entire volume, but in a small volume of 5.5 meter by 5 meter by 8 meters. So within that limited volume, which we famously call it as a quiet zone, we have to perform all the tests. Next slide, please. Facility description. This you can slides available with you. You can go through that. Next slide, please. Zero G fixture. Again, we told that we are creating a NASA is the CG. If we a microgravity on ground, and you can see that we have developed our own microgravity concept. We are being utilizing here and creating a microgravity. Next slide, please. You can see how we are doing the radiation pattern measurement. We will be doing the radiation pattern measurement in the raster mode, means at different elevation angles we will be having measurements at different azimuth points. To typically cover India, we need azimuth motion of -5 to from -3.5 to +3.5 degree. Within this small span, we can cover the entire India. And if you see the next slide, that shows that subsystem level versus satellite level measurement performance. So dotted is the subsystem level performance, solid is the satellite level performance, and this is a typical case of high gain antenna. So you can see co-pole wise not much variations are there, but distinctly you can see pattern variation in the cross pole. So, and then same thing we are seeing when satellite is actually in the orbit, we are seeing that there is an excellent match. So this facility is able to create online on orbit condition also. I will not do multi-beam, and thank you very much. With this, I will end my presentation. I hope I have taken 10 minutes extra. Is allowed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
If any questions are there, I will be more than happy to take. Otherwise,
Yes, sir.
thank you.
We request participants, if you have any question, you can unmute and ask, or else you can ask in the chat box. Puneet, sir.
Yes, please.
Sir, there is a question from Mr. Anup. He's asking about the use of intelligent reflector surfaces in space system. Can you please highlight use of intelligent reflector surfaces in space systems?
Yeah, thank you very much for asking this question. Yes, work is being done on those things. That's what I told, a concept of reconfigurable antennas. So, and in that condition, what we will be happening, we are going to use this intelligent surfaces, where by changing the biases at the designated point, we can shape the reflector such that the footprint, what is coming out of these, is as per our requirement. So this technology is not very matured in the antenna domain, but yes, work is under progress as a technology development. We are already working on that, and very soon we will be having those kind of reflectors.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions, participants? You can ask the questions in the chat box, or you can unmute and ask.
They can mail me also. So I think I am having another meeting. So let us close this session here. If they are having, you can share my mail ID. I will be more than happy to reply there.
I request our principal, Dr. Jayant Kitur sir, to present presidential remarks. Please, sir.
Good morning to one and all. Mr. Puneet Kumar Mishra, the head of the Satellite Antenna Characterization and Test and Design section of ISRO Satellite Center. Dr. Santosh Saraf, the HOD of BNC department. Dr. Dorsey, the coordinator of the FDP, and all the participants. Hearty welcome to you all for this 5-day FDP, which is arranged under the Atal program. Atal is a very good program which is floated by the government to
to impart the good quality technical education as well as foster the research, innovation, entrepreneurship through the trainings, and the use of the ICT tools by the teachers nowadays is becoming more important, and also integrate that one with the Swayam platform, and also organize many workshops, orientation courses, and FDPs. I hope this FDP is part of that bigger objective what the government of India or the scheme holding. I congratulate the Department of Electronics and Communication for taking initiative to float this particular FDP under the other scheme, and I also thank Professor for conducting this. And more importantly, Punit Kumar Mishra, who is the key speaker today for the keynote address. His address was very interesting address. Even a non-circuit branch engineer like me, who is a mechanical engineer, could grasp many of the things about the technology of antenna development. And I also came to know that mechanical engineering or the material science, material technology can play a very important role and collaborate with the electronic engineers in the antenna designs or the composition of the antennas, the shapes, and all those things. Somebody talked about the smart antennas, that is the smart materials, shape memory alloys. So there is a lot of scope, and also there is a scope for working together of the different branches of engineering in this particular domain. You know, I personally was very fascinated by the space technology. Right from my childhood, you can say that when I heard about the Voyager 1, Voyager 2, and few years, I think last year or so, we got a report that the Voyager 1 and 2 have crossed our solar system. Now they are into the interstellar space, and how they are communicating, how the signals are coming after days or months to the Earth, and how the deep signals are being analyzed, and how the various instruments that were on the board, which were developed in 60s, which is a very less power consumption, and all that, still they were working, how they were switched off, switched on, and how they are being used. Very fascinating field of this space and satellites. Very interesting thing, and I wish that all the participants will make best use of the resources and sessions that are being organized about this particular technology of antennas, which now becoming more important because of the 4G to 5G shifting, and we hope that India will catch up this fifth generation technology very fast, and we will become this particular domain. I thank all the participants for attending and making best use of this. I wish that all the participants will gain a lot of information through the various resource persons who will be coming for the last coming 3-4 days, and also I thank Punit Mishra sir for throwing open the new field for us. And I once again thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your kind words.
Thank you, sir. Now I'm here to present a vote of thanks. I thank Atal Academy of AICTE for sponsoring this FDP. I also thank the management of Karnataka Law Society, the college, ALS Gupta Institute of Technology. Today's keynote speaker, Mr. Punit Kumar Mishra sir, Principal of KLS GIT, Dr. Jayant Kitur sir, for his continuous encouragement and support. I thank Head of the Department, Dr. Santosh Saraf, for his continuous support. I thank all these speakers, specifically to mention Mr. Swapnil Gaur, founder of New Technology, because right from the day the event idea was considered and presented in front of me, he supported me a lot in finalizing topics as well as speakers. I thank all the speakers from various organizations, educational institutes as well as industries for sparing their time. They are going to share their views on antennas and microwave in industry applications. I thank all the participants for registering for this particular activity. Thank you, one and all.